It's been a busy voting day here in Topeka. There's been a lot of people turning out to vote. It's a very serious issue with amending the Kansas Constitution so that women can still have the right to an abortion within 22 weeks, or if the power is going to go to the state legislature, where they could restrict it even further or potentially ban the procedure altogether. I'm Eric Willard, reporting from Topeka.
Today, August 2nd, Kansas became the first state to put a measure on the ballot for the general public to weigh in on their opinions regarding abortion rights. This issue has been one of contention since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade and sent the decision about abortion rights back to the states. The issue of abortion has been challenged many times in the courts of Kansas, and as recently as 2019, the Kansas Supreme Court ruled that Kansans have a right to abortion under the Kansas Constitution. However, since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, the nation has seen protests on both sides of the issue, both pro-life and pro-choice activists.
Okay, what's your name?
My name is Boshner Whitaker. I'm voting to give females the opportunity to do what they please with their bodies and to just give them the right. You know, we all have the right to vote, and I'm out here taking care of my my right to vote.
And so, is there a specific reason that it's important to you other than just doing your civic duty?
Civic duty is important. You know, people who fought for me to have the right to vote is also important. And just conversations that I've had with females and get their side of the story, it's just important for me to go and stand up for the females of this nation.
This is Eric Willard. We're out here at a church at 29th and Fairlawn, one of the polling places here in Kansas. Today is a historic vote. People are voting on whether or not to amend the Kansas Constitution to give legislators the power to basically enact their own abortion laws how they see fit. Yes vote is actually saying that they're going to amend the Constitution to allow legislators to do that, and a no vote says we're going to allow what the Kansas Supreme Court said in 2019 to stand, which basically says that we've already regulated abortion, we've already settled the issue, it's going to stand, and so this is basically a GOP-led effort to change the Constitution and reverse what the courts said in order to basically get their way and more or less probably going to ban abortion altogether. Okay, so what do you know about the issue that's on the ballot today to amend the Constitution?
I know right now, what I know of is it's the right for a woman or anybody who can have a baby to be able to have an abortion and have health care that they may need. And this change to the Constitution, if voting yes would change those things and would take away the protection that the Constitution has for it, and voting no would keep the protection that is implemented by the Constitution of Kansas for that healthcare right.
Okay, and so how do you equate this vote with what the U.S. Supreme Court did several weeks ago?
What do you mean?
They voted, the judges voted to overturn Roe v. Wade and Dobbs. And what stands right now as law in Kansas was basically decided more or less in 2019 for the Kansas Supreme.
A little difficult. I wouldn't say they're wrong, just like Americans have opinions. I think everybody should have an opinion. That's how democracy works. That's how I think it should be. But I personally believe like healthcare needs to be an essential right for people. And, you know, this process may not be things that people enjoy, but it is healthcare. And that is something that should be protected. And I think if if voting no were to keep this protected as, health care through the Constitution, that's also a big win for states' rights, being able to choose what's right for their state and for their people. It's kind of like cannabis. Each state's starting to pick its own decision on if it's going to be medical or if it's going to be recreational. It's starting to give states more rights since states want to have these rights.
For example, a legislator that's in the state legislator here, he represents, let's say, Colby, Kansas, and then we have a legislator that represents somewhere in Wyandotte County. Do you think it's fair that the voter in Wyandotte County has basically a 20% weaker vote than other people? Because let's say you represent a rural county or a rural district with fewer people. Those fewer people are going to have a stronger vote than a district with more people and still only one representative.
Right. Okay, so kind of like an electoral college situation.
Sort of, yes.
Okay. I think that's kind of difficult because at one point you need rural counties to be heard. You need their opinions and what their issues to be heard and be actually brought up and taken care of. But at the same time, you got to really pay attention to where most of your population is actually going to be at, and that's going to give you the greatest example of what your state or area may actually need. Like I know Topeka, and we have a pretty decent sized population here. We got to focus on this, like bigger towns and cities. Don't matter, because they absolutely do. We need them, but we got to look at what's the greatest for the entire population, as well as nixing issues in smaller rural areas.
At times, because I mean, let's face it, rural tend to be different than populated.
Absolutely, it's different lifestyles. It's different upbringings. I come from the St. Louis area originally, but my dad used to live in Potosi, Missouri, way back in the woods. So I get it. Like, it's completely different lifestyles. But we got to look at issues as a community, as an entire state. And I think a lot of people just get separated into categories because, like, oh, well, I live this lifestyle and this is how I work, so I want it to be this way for everybody. And it's like, well, if we're going to see eye to eye on everything, we got to look at everybody's perspective and realize, like, okay, well, maybe what's best for me may not be best for the entire group. That's just how I look at things.
Right, and you said you were former military, yes?
Yes, sir.
And you get really good health care, yes?
Yeah, the VA.
Okay, and I lived in Europe before, which is basically free health care. So is that why you value health care like as sort of a human right?
Absolutely. Like my mom, for example. My mom had tremendous health care issues. Like, I remember watching her take like 30 to 40 prescriptions a day just because of all the diseases she had. And it put a lot of debt on my family, which is one of the few reasons I joined the military. Healthcare is such a fundamental thing that we need, and it's what causes so many people to either be in debt or be worried about things, or like I know for me and my significant other, sometimes she'll skip out going to the doctor to go to work because we need the money. And that shouldn't be something people have to worry about. Everybody should be able to go to work, do their thing, but also be able to get health care and do their thing. It should just be a right that we all have.
Right, and I mean,
absolutely. If we're going to look at it in a government standpoint, if we're going to break it down into like this weird subgenre of like, well, the taxpayers, like you should want healthy taxpayers to to be in your facilities and work and help stimulate this economy that we're currently trying to keep from going into a potentially a depression and currently a recession.
Yeah, definitely.
Christopher Emily.
Thanks. Can you tell me, what are you out here for?
I'm here for the voting no on August 2nd and for the overturning of Roe.
Why do you care about that?
As someone who had a family who did foster care and stuff like that, I believe the fact that people deciding to bring more children into the world without fixing the current system is asinine, and that we should focus on the people here before we try to force anything else.
And do you think your presence here will change anything?
What do you mean?
Do you think anybody protesting, do you think that will change the hearts and minds of the legislators that are predominantly Republican?
I would like to think so. And at the very least, if not, then the passerbys that have been coming around can see that there are people that care about this, and it can raise awareness as a whole that this is a problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
It's been a busy voting day here in Topeka on the amendment to amend the Constitution and add in an amendment so that the legislators can basically ban or further restrict abortion rights for women in the state. It's been a hot day, as you can see. I'm not taking it too well, but I'm out here anyways to bring you, like, this is an important issue in the state of Kansas and even in the wider United States. It's this reporter's opinion that we need to allow women to choose what they want to do with their bodies, especially when men are voting here. Men should not be able to decide what women want to do with their bodies. So if this were a completely fair vote, it would be my opinion that we should let only women vote for this issue. Anyways, I'm Eric Willard, reporting from Topeka. Back to you in the studio.